Hello, my friends. Welcome, welcome. I was thinking about what we're going to do today, and it occurred to me when I found out you know, how we like to do, here I am, I'm so glad. And then I found out that the actual text is, here I am, so glad you are. But then I thought, I like mine better. And so I'm going to give credit to Kurt Vonnegut for the idea, but I really love the rhythm of here I am, I'm so glad. And so that's what I would really like to start with today, because I'd like you to let yourself do here I am with however you are. But I'd like you to, because mostly right now, I think people are, here I am, but I'm tucked and I'm back in there. But here I am, this is a place where you can really go, here I am. So I'd love for you to just let yourself play with, here I am, and then let other people go, oh, I'm so glad. And so I'd like you to play with all of the different here I ams and all of the different I'm so glads, which are really love scoops. So I think that the whole thing, here I am, is reaching out, and then I'm so glad, that makes a love scoop. And it's my favorite kind of love scoop. And I'd like you to do it enough that you actually are feeling, here I am, and you're feeling, oh, I'm so glad. And so if there's a part of you that is not feeling so glad, I'd like you to include that. Like I can feel right at the top of my neck is a little bit of kind of, so I'm going to include that in my here I am, and I'm so glad. And when I do that, I find my breath both expanding and slowing down, and I start feeling spacious, and I can feel more circulation. Oh, and there's, yeah, those of you who were watching, there's a little cat that went by. They like to, and there's another one over on the couch, likes to be in here when, and so I've got my here I am, I'm so glad, kind of surrounding me. So let yourself play with a new way, maybe going off in another direction. One of the things I was seeing from somebody did an analysis of what might happen from us being all on Zoom with always face forward, because it can change the whole context of connection. So I'd love for you to, here I am, I'm so glad, playing around. You don't have to do it on screen. Here I am, I'm so glad. you can you can turn your back on, here I am, I'm so glad. So you're playing with the frame, so that you choose the frame rather than the frame choosing how you need to be. Yeah, so then take a moment and just notice if you've created a sense of aliveness, if you're having some uprising energy. Because one of the things that occurred to me too is that I'm responsible for my own joy. And one of, I think, the most radical things that we can do that really will make a difference is to be expansively, completely joyous in our own being and in our existence, and letting that be the way that we're moving around in the world. So when joy, I was just thinking about that, joy cometh in the morning. So here we are creating joy. And Gay and I were playing with, Gay loves to make up songs, and he was making up a country song this morning, and he was, he'd throw out one phrase, and I was in the bathroom getting dressed, and I'd throw out another phrase. And so we were having this joy exchange. Like, first thing, we're not going to go into work and getting things done. And then if we have any time left over, we're going to have a little bit of joy. So if you let joy be your context, and that you're choosing it just because you're choosing it. and making that the ground of being, like, I can't be joyful because I can be joyful, and there's, always stuff going on. But that I want to have all of us have a not just a safe place to come home to, but a place of expansion and radiating for other people who might want to share the joy, including our fur babies. I see some fur babies. Wonderful. All right. So now I want to share with you the card that came up for me. And also, are we going to put the video in the? We're going to put the video in the chat, right? It just occurred to me that when we do our exploration of the integrity cards, that we're going to link it to the video that I created, so that you can dive more deeply, or you and or your clients or friends, if they want to dive more deeply into this. So I'd love for you to let yourself let your joyous self go out into this and notice what really attracts you, and let your loop of awareness come back into your own body and noticing how you're receiving it. Is one of the things I'm noticing is that we have now so much information. There's information coming at you all the time, but there's very little integration, like letting that actually seep in, letting it be absorbed, letting yourself have a chance to act with this in a different way. So I'd like you to let yourself notice what you're taking in, what that stimulates in you, the colors that you're drawn to, the shapes. If you let yourself, the more I look at this, the more I go into it. And then when I come back to me, the more I can feel that affecting me more deeply, so that I'm integrating just the shape and the feeling and what opens up for me, and what starts to really become a different language inside me, and a different journey that takes me deeper into my own experience. So while you're doing that, letting your attention go into that and then into you, I'd like to read the text to you and the question. I get curious about how I create the results that are occurring in my life. This is a really biggie, so I'm going to repeat it again. I get curious about how I create the results that are occurring in my life. And then the question is, how can I notice what unintentional commitments, beliefs are driving the results I experience in my life? So I'll read the question once more. How can I notice what unintentional commitments or beliefs are driving the results I experience in my life? This, in some ways, when I read this and I'm looking at the card, this is one of the most important cards in the whole deck, because if you are looking at the results, it's always going to tell you what your intention is. It's going to guide you to whatever your belief is, whatever your expectation, what you have brought to it that you might not be aware of. And so looking at the results, because a lot of people will say, oh, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. And they aren't taking advantage of what they actually did or said or were feeling. So and it took me years to really get joyful about this card. Like, oh, I can look at the results and that will tell me what I'm up to. So if you're working with a client, or you're talking with a friend and someone says, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, that is sort of the opposite of what we're looking at. So like if I were late for an appointment, that was important, then I would go, I get curious. So the first thing that people do often, we can come back to the big group now, because I think you've gotten an imprint of the card. So the first thing that people often do is blame themselves. Like, oh, I didn't mean to, and here I go again. I feel, and that also is not useful at all. What is useful is one getting curious. So I invite you to get curious about something that's going on in your life that you're wondering, like, why does this keep recurring? Or how did that happen? So the first step is getting curious rather than blaming, because taking responsibility is literally moving from blame to wonder. And when I bring genuine wonder, then I actually reclaim my ability to respond, my response ability. And doing that over and over, I found that if I just get a little hint into what like I made myself smaller, or I didn't say what I was feeling, or when that thing happened, I just let it go by. And then I sabotaged it later on. And then it will let you know. And then you can ask, where did I learn that? How is this familiar? And so it will lead you into the patterns that you may not have taken responsibility for, like stuff that happened when you were a kid, and you learned a pattern from that and you just keep repeating it. Like for me, it was, an early pattern with my dad of don't bother him because he's always pretty angry. And if I bother him, he's going to turn that on me. So I'll just be careful. And so I took that into my relationship with Gay, was being careful around him, especially if it looked like he was a little angry. And so, opening up to, oh, wait a minute, I learned that way of responding and I can learn a new way of responding. And so that to me, this is probably the card that is the quickest transformation card in the whole deck. So if you've got a situation going on where you're going, oh, how come this is happening to me again? This would be a great card for you. And it took me a couple of years to move from beating myself up to actually wondering. So I'm hoping that my early excavation on this will make the time shorter for you. But if you're stubborn like I was, it may take you a while. If you want to insist that you're right in this, that's going to slow you down a bit. But when you move to genuine, boy, a whole world, just like on the card, the cosmos opens up with all kinds of, portals of new exploration and new wonder. And then in the middle of that, would you be willing to say, here I am in this, and I'm so glad that I have this opportunity to explore, to wonder. So we don't have to wait until we get problems solved in order to be joyful. And especially if you're letting yourself genuinely wonder. So this is one that you might want to also dive into the video that goes with it, because it's one that you could have on your desk or on the mirror in the bathroom. It's like, oh right, for periodically. I was just seeing a mirror with integrity cards around the edges of it. That would be all like, which one will I pick today? Ah, beautiful. All right. So now I'm going to look at our Presence Connect play for today. And for those of you who may be new, if you're new here, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here. We do a combination of Loop of Awareness, Love Scoops, Integrity Card, and Presence Connect play, because why not? Why not have a whole bouquet of things that you can explore? So for our Presence Connect play, for those of you who may not know, we have a whole website that backs this up now, that has more information about each one of the prompts. Sometimes a little video, sometimes a suggestion about how you can use it. So I want you to have as many resources to support your well-being, especially now. And so, some things might appeal to you from one week to the next, and some things not so much. So this is just to give you a big menu. So for presence, it's to take 3 breaths and change your position, change your physical position. And this is based actually on research, which, is on the website. So if you're stuck or you have a feeling coming up, or you're in a little impasse, or you're about to go into a meeting or a conversation that brings up some fear for you, actually taking 3 connected breaths. And the important thing about this is connecting your in breath to your out breath. So letting it roll over. I like to think of it as like a little baby roller coaster. We sort of go up and then over. So in breath and then out breath, and then in breath and out breath. And 3 times is going to take you way over, 20 to 30 seconds. So for me, if I usually take 3 to 5 breaths a minute. And that's, because I've learned how to slow down my breath, that's a very easy, efficient way to shift from fear to presence. But then, because when we're stuck, we're almost always stuck in a physical position that we're not aware of. You might be hunched or cringed or collapsed or rigid. But when you take your 3 breaths, then change your physical position. So let yourself just try that on, of taking your 3 connected breaths. When I'm in, like when I go to the doctors or I go to the dentist and they say, I'd like you to, take a breath. And then I'm still on my in breath. And when they're saying, and I'd like you to take another breath, and I go, just a second, I know how to do this. So, and it's that whole thing on television too, which is sort of my current, like I want them to do the different thing. They'll say, just breathe. And then they go on to something else. It's like, excuse me, breathing takes a, but they're never going to do things for more than 5 seconds, on television. Then they're going to change frames. So don't use that as a model. Letting yourself enjoy your in breath and out breath, and then change your physical position. And that is more effective than medication. So let me to say that is more effective than medication. So that's from research. So to know that you can shift into presence that easily, to me, I think it's just a real gift. And then Connect says, reflect feelings. So not interfering with people or trying to make them change, and reflecting feeling is a little bit of an art form. And one of the things that I do is use my loop of awareness. When I can see that somebody else has feelings that are going on, I give my attention to them. And then I give my attention to how I am experiencing their feeling. And then letting myself open up to that and experience that. And that is a telepathic, very effective way of connecting with people, that you're letting yourself feel what they're feeling for a moment, and they'll get it. And then sometimes if I can see there's an opening, I'll say, yeah, oh, feelings. I don't try to label it, or, oh, it looks like you're feeling angry, and telling them to do something, but letting myself be affected by another person's experience lets them know that I'm with them. And that connection is very precious. And I've had people shift. I've had people burst into tears from my just doing that, because they feel it. That is, they experience it. They're taking it in. It's not bouncing off. So rather than, oh, I got to analyze what the person's feeling is and I have to help them to shift it, letting yourself simply presence that in yourself and then presence it in them, that connection of loop of awareness, is a lovely way of letting people know I'm with you. And then something else might come from that. But even if it doesn't, just that sense of connection is a tremendous nourishment. It's one of the ways that we can replenish and renew, even with people that we don't know, and especially with people that we don't know. Oh, and then play. Oh, this is one of my favorites. So play is to exaggerate your gestures and expressions. So almost always, if something is going on, people want you to stop doing it, or they want you to do the other, or to fix it, or to suppress it, or to make it go away. But the way to play with it is to catch something that you're doing and do it more. And I was sharing some of our work in one of my friends' workshops this weekend, and I was playing stuck face with them, which is something that I have forgotten. We did it years ago, but it's what you do is you like if you're feeling grumpy, like you can just play with it right now. Like if you're feeling grumpy or stuck or something you're mad about, let yourself just go ahead and make that face and you want to really exaggerate it. And then if you want to play stuck face with somebody else, you peel off your face and you toss it to them, and then they try on your face and they make a change to it, and then they toss it back to you. But the start of that is actually giving attention to what you're doing and doing it more, because when you do it more, it almost immediately turns into play. It'll turn into something else. Your thing can turn into a bird, or your thing can, it'll turn into a sound that expresses, and then off you go into creativity. So going with and taking it a little more is a great way to play. So rather than having something happen and then you have to stop it and create something new that doesn't really have anything to do with what was going on for you. So if you take something further, it's also sort of a Jungian principle too, that if you take something to its opposite, it will shift just organically. So don't take my word for it. Don't take Jung's word for it. You play and see what happens for you. So I think these are some, I'm pleased with our selection of things today that you can use to increase your well-being. So thank you for participating. I also want to let you know that often when I do this, I have no idea what I'm going to say or what's going to come through. So part of how this happens is with you. So I'm tuning into you, I'm looping with you. So you are co-creating with me with your presence. So I appreciate your being here and doing that. So I'm going to take my leave now, and you stay here and continue tossing and looping to your heart's content. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Mwah! Bye now.